Hey, everybody, Off the Mic Sports Network here. Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning into another episode of Off the Top Rope. So let's talk about the tag team division here. So it appears as if, at least, and now it's kind of been revealed on social media that maybe it's looking like a multi-team match heading into All In Texas. But it had heavily been leaned into that the Hurt Syndicate were going to at least, at minimum face Jet Speed, Speedball Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight. But there was a segment that was probably the worst thing that I saw in this show, where Kevin Knight and Mike Bailey tried to get one up on the Hurt Syndicate. The Hurt Syndicate just disposed of them because, let's be real, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin are just bigger, more physically imposing dudes than Speedball Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight. Those guys, Kevin Knight and Speedball Mike Bailey, are very entertaining, but they have not gotten really 1 ounce of a lick up on these guys in what has been the build to a tag team championship match at All In Texas. And this is, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. This tag team division and whatever this tag team match has been built up to is one of the worst built championship matches that I can remember for a major pay-per-view. Like this, there is no, and that being said, the tag team championship match that, was built up to at WrestleMania between the New Day and the War Raiders was awful too. Like there was no build to it. They just had a rematch and they threw it on there. But at least from that perspective, there was a story that was at least some semblance of something where they were basing something around those guys, the War Raiders' necks. And, we were led to believe that maybe something would happen with Big E. Something didn't happen. And in my opinion, if it were me, I would have put the SmackDown TLC match that they put on SmackDown basically the following Friday. I thought that was a big misfire from Triple H and creative, but that's neither here nor there. This tag team division has fallen off so fucking far that the top challengers, at least for now, and sorry to spoil you your colliders out there, but they're going to do a three-way match, which is basically, I think it's Kevin Knight versus Shelton Benjamin versus Nick Wayne, which leads me to believe, and they've subtly been dropping hints that Nick Wayne and Christian Cage are going to potentially be in the mix to challenge for the world tag team titles in AEW. And that's going to be, and presumably it's going to be the Patriarchy versus Jet Speed versus the Hurt Syndicate in a tag team match for the tag team titles at All In Texas. If that's the case of where this thing is going, holy crap, this division is sunk to a new low. And this is I like the Hurt Syndicate. They hurt people. Their booking has been terrible. They should be baby faces because they're over. And they have literally buried this entire division. And it doesn't help that all of the challengers don't even physically measure up. The one team that really did physically measure up to them was Big Bill and Brian Keith, because Big Bill it says in his name, he's big. He's big. But those guys were hanging around with Chris Jericho. We don't give a shit about Chris Jericho. So, and then to just see the nature of, and Speedball had been doing a really good job of getting over with the fans. Doesn't really have much of a personality, but he's got a really cool and unique wrestling style. Kevin Knight is very exciting. All these guys have done for about a month is get their asses kicked. And those guys are supposed to win the world tag team titles. Christian Cage, the guy who, has been roaming around being the father of Nick Wayne, and Nick Wayne is the Ring of Honor television champion. Nick Wayne, talented and young wrestler, but still has a long way to go. We're feeding into that narrative, and I appreciate that Christian wants to finish off the story with the Patriarchy, but wait a second. Didn't 2 months ago, or 2.5 months ago, or maybe close to 3 months ago, didn't FTR turn heel on Adam Copeland? And we were led to believe that Adam Copeland and Christian Cage were somehow going to reunite against FTR. Did that storyline just get dropped? Why the hell aren't FTR involved in this? FTR is considered the best tag team in the world. The Young Bucks, considered the forefathers of this company and one of the best tag teams in the world, they're not even fighting for the tag team titles. They're facing Swerve and Will Ospreay in a stakes-filled match that's not even related to the tag team division. This tag team division sucks. Sucks. That being said, the Raw tag team division in WWE is not good. The SmackDown tag team division has been getting really funky, but they have a lot of good teams. The Wyatt Six incorporation of that is kind of, thrown a wrench into a little bit of things with WWE. And WWE tag team wrestling has not been very good, outside of some, the Usos and the New Day. And, you could say the Street Profits too have really become into their own. And, it's great that they've now in the last, really up until the last year or so, tag team wrestling from a division standpoint in WWE had not been very good. And all of a sudden, WWE has put way more emphasis on their tag teams, more so on SmackDown than Raw. Meanwhile, AEW, which had so many great tag teams, is now reduced to having two singles guys, Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley, being the tag team champions. They've literally run through this whole division that has no credibility whatsoever. And now their primary challengers for a WrestleMania level tag team match are two guys that they've literally kicked their asses for a month. And yet that's supposed to be a compelling match. There's a non-title tag team match that feels more significant than the tag team titles. That should never happen in any tag team division whatsoever. Should never happen at all. And I know some people will go back to WrestleMania 40 and say, well, Mike, what about, that ladder match that they had at WrestleMania 40 where they divided up the tag team titles and then you had the main event being Rock and Roman Reigns against Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes. That's a different situation, okay? This is one of those things where the tag team titles have become so irrelevant that nobody really, it's a lot of apathy. Everybody just wants to see the Hurt Syndicate, but they don't even care about the tag team titles. And when your primary challengers are getting their asses kicked on a regular basis, and then the other team that's being incorporated into it has barely been featured on television in Christian Cage and Nick Wayne, and then you've got FTR roaming around since their heel turn, they've done nothing. And, Outrunners were once really over. They're facing each other on Collision in a match that's already been recorded. And then your best tag team ever, or the best tag, or at least some people tell me is the greatest tag team of all time, which, is subjective in the Young Bucks. I think the Young Bucks are pretty good, but I don't know if they're the greatest of all time. They're not even fighting for the tag team titles. They lost them. And the team that beat them is probably on the way out. That's where tag team wrestling is in AEW. And this tag team title match is one of the worst built matches to a big show on a pay-per-view that I've ever seen in all my years of watching professional wrestling. This build has made no fucking sense. It's done nobody any good. It makes the tag team titles feel totally insignificant. And one of the hallmarks of this company has fallen so below par that a non-title match has stakes that feel way more important than the tag team titles. That is ridiculous. At least with what was going on at WrestleMania 40, if you guys want to compare it to that, at least there, it had a direct impact into what was going on in the main event. And this may indirectly affect what goes on in the main event. We'll see. Who knows? Because it's really just a stipulation that Swerve and Ospreay can't challenge for the world title if they lose. But it's so much more significant. At least with, what was going on at WrestleMania back then, you had a ladder match with 6 teams and both tag team titles were getting separated. What is the significance of this tag team title match at all in Texas? There's nothing, because there's no credible teams whatsoever. And then any ounce of credibility that you wanted to give to Kevin Knight and Mike Bailey, you're just beating the living shit out of them. And having to beg for it 4 times and just the Hurt Syndicate looking down, it looks so fucking bad. And on top of it, the Hurt Syndicate really don't even, the attention with that really isn't on the tag team titles. It's more about MJF and his pursuit of gold and him joining the Hurt Syndicate. So that's a whole other separate issue. So listen, man, this is a mess of a situation with the tag team titles. And I don't know what the fuck Tony Khan's doing, but I don't know what happened to tag team wrestling in that company. It really is staggering how bad it's gotten. worst build maybe to a major match and a championship match that I've ever seen. And there's been some bad builds going to this show, but this is one of the worst because at least with the other ones, you had name value and you had some other thing to sell it. There's no selling factor on this whatsoever. It's just, hey, Hurt Syndicate hold the titles. We need to find them challengers. That shouldn't be how it is. Anyway, thanks so much. I'll see you guys. Bye-bye.